Hey everybody, this is Blue Star for you. I'm sure you've seen my other videos, and today I'm going to show you how to do my Countersteer setup. For the Countersteer setup, you do want to have a camber gauge, ride height gauge, suspension tool for the little grub screw, and a turnbuckle tool for the camber. Okay, currently I have the 80 weight 1000 CST shock oil in the rear and 25 weight 275 CST in the front. The front pulley is a stock 39 tooth. Then you do want to have a 16 followed by a 20 to another 16, a 24, and in the rear you want a 28 spool pulley. And now the moment that you've all been waiting for. This is how I get started when I'm doing my Countersteer setup. I go ahead and I take my suspension tool. This is 1.5. I'm going to use this to unscrew my droop screws just a little bit. Let's say I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'll do maybe 1.5 turns out. And I'm going to do that all the way around. The reason for this is so that when I'm doing my ride height, my droop screws will not get in the way at all. Okay, next up, I'm going to go ahead and do the camber. Do keep in mind that once I get to my suspension, I'm setting the ride heights. The camber probably is going to change, but let's go ahead and do that now. Right now I'm doing 6 in the front and 4 in the rear. Give it a little pop. Set the ride height. See where I'm at. This one's just a little bit too negative, so I'm going to bring it back out some. One thing I like to do with my chassis, when I put on the turnbuckles, I make sure that they're all facing the same exact direction. So in this particular instance, if I need positive camber, I know that I need to bring my turnbuckle tool to the front of the car. And for negative, I bring the turnbuckle to the back. Okay, the front's at 6. Now I'm going to do 4 in the rear. You can normally pick whatever camber you like, whatever looks good and works with your car. Normally I do the front 2 degrees more negative than the rear. So front is 6 and 4, or it could be 7 and 5. This is what I picked up from the Japanese drifters when I checked out their specs. Okay, now I have set to 4. I'm going to do the rear. I'm going to give it a little pop and see where I'm at. Okay, it's too negative. You can actually see it moving there. So, since I have my turnbuckle set to the right direction, I'm going to bring it forward if I want more positive. Now I'm going to check my ride height. Okay, currently the front is sitting at 6.5, and let's see the other side. It's sitting at 7, so I do have to equal those two out. Go ahead and check the rear. Okay, the rear is sitting at 6.5. and the other side is sitting at 6. So not too much adjustment I have to do. I've got to equal out the rear, and I got to equal out the front. So that everybody knows, I learned this from an on-road racer. He taught me exactly how to do setting the ride height with the shocks without affecting the preload or compression of the spring. Right here is the right way of adjusting the ride height. Okay, like I said, I checked. My front left is sitting at 5.5, and this other side sitting at right. The front's both sitting at 5.5. That's good enough for me. That's where I would like it. Now I'm going to switch around to the back, and perhaps if this is off, I can show you how to set the ride height the correct way. So if my front is 5.5, let's say I'm going to do my rear just 1 mil higher. I already have a lot of weight in the front. I don't need to drop down the front too much. Alright, back is sitting at 5.5 and 6 on this side. So I'm going to do 6.5 in the rear. This one's sitting right here at 5.5. I'm going to go ahead and take my dampener, my collar, and I'm just going to give it a few turns. And see where I'm at. Okay, that's at 6. I got to go a little bit further. Alright, still at 6. Almost getting to 6.5. Alright, nicely fitting over 6.5. I'm going to check this other side. And 6.5. Okay, now we're going to set the droop. Now, this is the way that I set my droop. I want to put 0 droop all the way around. Then once I'm done with that, I'm going to add about 1 or 2 millimeters of droop in the rear. But first, I'm going to set it all to 0. I'm going to slide my ride height gauge underneath the rear. And I'm going to wiggle it as I screw down the droop screw. When I feel resistance, I know that's when I've gone too far. I can just back it up just a hair. Okay, back it up a little bit. Okay, and do the same thing on the other side. Since my measurement is 6.5, I want to make sure that I'm sitting exactly on that step without going too far. Wiggle, wiggle. Okay, full resistance. Okay. And back it up just a little bit. Okay. Going on to the front. I'm going to do the same thing. Wiggle as I screw it down. When I feel resistance, I've gone too far. Okay, right about there. Okay. The way that I know for certain that I set the droop correctly, when I raise up the front, the wheels are not going to drop down. They're going to raise with the chassis. Same thing with the rear. Come back here. Okay. Now I have 0 droop in the front and the rear. Normally, the car may be a little bit swing happy, being that it has 161% countersteer. What I can do to make the switchbacks a little bit smoother is add some droop to the rear. When I add droop to the rear, when I hit the e-brake and do my switchback, all the weight is going to shift forward to the front when the back lifts up, and that'll make sure that the back swings really slow. So if you want to swing slower, add more droop. If you want to keep it tight and quick, leave it at 0. Okay, because I want to make it a little bit smoother on the e-brake, I'm gonna do a full. I'll do a half a turn. Same thing on this side. Do half a turn. Okay. Now, before I'm complete, I'm going to recheck my camber. Once again, right now I'm doing 6 in the front, 4 in the rear. Now the car is ready to roll.